Good morning. This is Norma Cowie for my A Sunday Thought. Well, I was thinking this morning a lot about what I was going to talk about today. I actually thought I was going to talk about self forgiveness. But as I contemplated this, the thought came of self responsibility. In other words, the ability to be able to respond. How do we respond? Are we capable to always respond appropriately? I find that's not always true for me. Sometimes a situation will come up and I'll freeze. It's like I can't think of what I want to say, or I never seem to think of it quick enough. Some people have such quick responses like this. In fact, I have a friend who is probably the quickest person I know with a response. And when I said to her, how did you learn this? How to be able to respond like this? And she said, it was my home environment. I had to be on my toes all the time. So we have a background, we have a history in our lives. And I came from a fairly quiet household for the simple reason I had older parents and my father worked all the time. So it was pretty quiet. My brother and I got into a few little tussles every now and again, but my mother was fairly easygoing by that point in her life. I have no idea how she was when she was younger. And I never learned how to verbally interact in a way where you kind of, reacted to whatever went on. Now, give me something I have to think about or a thought on the topics that I am comfortable with or very much aware of, because my thoughts often are very, very different than most other people's. So, self responsibility, where does it begin and where does it end? We are responsible for our own well being. I know I'm a bit of a chocoholic. People who know me know that. And there are times when I really need not to be having this chocolate. But if I'm under stress from any kind, I find that's my go to, whether it's a cookie or whether it's a bar or whether I'm trying to work more into protein bars covered in chocolate rather than straight chocolate. And always only very dark Belgian chocolate when I do indulge. But it's that awareness of my ability to respond. If I have a choice, ice cream and chocolate are the two things that I'm going to go to when I'm not perhaps being as responsible as I could be, because the ability to respond in any circumstances, we've been living under a lot of stress in the last couple of years. Um, Many of us feel that perhaps more than others. And so it's like, how do we handle that? How do we become responsible for our actions of what we do or what we say or what we go about? And there has been that sense of hibernation of, lockdowns and changes and bits and pieces. And I know a lot of people reached out on the phone, and I do a lot of work with clients where I'm on Zoom or phone. And then I began to find that I wasn't calling my friends. I wasn't keeping in touch. I wasn't being responsible for the relationship, because all relationships, you have a responsibility in your side of things, and you're part of it, of where you are actually at. So this ability to respond, when was it appropriate? Always, I think, if we're and a self-responsibility not only is a self-care, but also how we respond to friends, from myself, clients or students, as well as people generally when you're out and about. I wasn't intending to say this, but I'm going to do this, because my inside is like, do you really want to go there? Quite often when there's stressful situations, people will either shut down, as I sometimes will tend to do, or people get angry. Now, I never grew up with a lot of anger, even though my father was very hard on us, but the household itself wasn't an angry household. And so what happens when you see anger? How do you respond to that energy? Because that's really what it is. It's an energy. Now, as I studied a lot of this to try and figure things out, what I began to realize that both the anger in particular, but also fear and depression and all that are two sides of the same coin. And it's basically, it has to do with us not feeling competent or comfortable with the situation at hand. We're not sure. We feel helpless. And so, really, self responsibility, and when you feel helpless, also has a part to play. Because if you're feeling helpless in a situation, you're going to respond usually in one or two ways. You're going to freeze, you're going to get depressed, you're going to be quiet, you're going to move back, just like I have in my chair. Or you're going to do the other. You're going to attack and you're going to defend, and you're going to be, a lot of energy going out. So one's going to implode and one is going to explode. So we can't become to a point in relationships where we need to claim our own self-responsibility of how we respond. And in that self-responding, what begins to happen, we become more aware of who we are. If we don't think about it, if it's not a thought that we've ever had, we don't really know exactly where, what, when, and where, how it happens. We just know we do what we do. And we don't think about consequences of our actions often in those moments. We don't look ahead. We're either frozen or we're reacting. So, so when we come to the self-responsibility element, it's a good thing to sit back sometimes and really think, what is my ability to respond? What things do I respond to easily? What things do I not respond to easily? And what do I do if I don't know what to do and I get stressed? Because I know that's what I had to deal with a lot in my life. What happens when I'm stressed? What do I do? How do I respond to that? And I think that each one of us will either, as I said, we'll either freeze and pull back, or we'll charge ahead. I know some people are so brave. I look at them and go, oh my goodness. But at the same point, very often they don't think of the consequence of the actions. They just get out of my face, you leave me alone, or you're making statements that say you're wrong. None of us are wrong. We're coming from our own perspective. And this is where self-love comes in. And that's another thing. So what I'd like you this week is to think about what level is your ability to respond? Do you respond more withdrawn, neutral, or outward? Because I'll guarantee we do all three at certain circumstances. So in other words, is it in your private relationships? Is it in work relationships? Just scan over and think about it, okay? Because it'll be locked inside. Because it's only through awareness, where we shine the light on, that we begin to become aware of what exactly, or who exactly, I should say, never mind what exactly is our responses, but who we are. What is it that dictates our interaction with life, with people around us, with how we are responding to certain circumstances? Self-knowledge is invaluable. Self-knowledge is where we all need to grow. That's why we talk about self-development. I just began a new psychic development course, and we spent the first time talking about the self, because no matter what, that's what's going to happen. We're going to show up. We're going to show up, and we need to understand how we operate. And if I know how I operate, I know how other people operate. That's the thing. If you become aware of something within you, then you're going to start seeing it in others, number one. But often, that's how we learn. We see something and we'll notice how we respond. How do we respond to that? In our mind, we might make a judgment. That's bad behavior, or jeepers, I don't like those words. Another side, well, I really like how the person handled that, and I really like those words that they said, so that we can begin to acclimatize and make things in a whole different way. So have fun this week. Just taking a look at how you respond when circumstances come on up. Number one, and I want to just remind you that subscriptions are always welcome here. I am so pleased when they come in, and your comments, and also likes and shares, of course, but also to my new coming back on Monday nights, where I'm doing my mental mind treatments for people. Second week was last Monday. This coming Monday, which is tomorrow night, I'll be back again. So if you have a question would like me to do a mental mind treatment, just come to my channel, look for me, because I'll come live right around 7:00. And I appreciate you being there. Thank you for listening. Have a great day and a great week. Bye now.